Coming up on today's episode of Real Talk Rentals, we're going to talk the onboarding process, what it takes to sign up with a property management company, and what you can expect. Welcome to Real Talk Rentals, podcast brought to you by OnQ Property Management. We're here to give you the inside scoop on the behind the scenes of property management, everything that goes into it, all the tips and tricks. I'm Ben, I'm your host. With me, as always, is Mr. Eric Dixon, the go-to property management guru here in Arizona. And then today, we're going to be talking about something that required a special guest, very, very special guest. So we're going to be talking about the process of signing up with a property management. When you are ready to make that leap, what are the steps involved? We call it onboarding. And in order to go over that, we have our senior portfolio manager, Matt Medonich.
Welcome, Matt. What are you guys laughing about?
Thank you.
Did he butcher your last name?
That's all right.
That's
all
just
right.
what I do here.
No,
That's
just
all right.
what's your last name?
Matt Medonich.
Medonich.
Yeah,
There it
Medonich.
is.
There it
I
is.
built it up too much. And then the
I was
delivery-
excited. I was
Like,
excited.
Should I say Matt or Matthew? But
Yeah. No, Matt's
Matt.
good.
All right, Matt. To kick us off, maybe you could walk us through kind of your history with property management, how you got into this biz, and how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, sure. No, I appreciate you having me on the podcast today. And really, my background's pretty simple. It's really service oriented. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. My mom works in the hospitality and tourism world, and my dad does as well. My mom in the hotels and my dad in the restaurants. And so that is all I know, and that's what I came up with. And so when I went out to school, I went to school for hospitality and tourism management, and that's what my degree is in, and thought that is what my life would be. And once I graduated college and had a real big boy job in the hotel world, realized it's not what I wanted, and found my way coming back to Arizona, still in the hospitality industry, just not necessarily the hotels, dabbled in the restaurants to follow my dad's footsteps, realized that wasn't really what I was aiming for as well, and landed into property management, which I had never really dreamed of or thought of. My dad had rental properties growing up and self-managed, didn't know management companies existed, and had an opportunity to join the team and loving it. It's been great. And I take care of the onboarding process, and it's been about 4 years now. So it has been quite the journey from hotels to restaurants to property management.
well,
Awesome.
and Matt, I was around. I had the pleasure to be part of the recruiting. Taylor kind of recruited you to our office, and then I was in those interviews. What was it that interested you? Not just OnQ. This isn't a podcast about how awesome OnQ is, but just the industry as a whole. Because you quit. I mean, you quit your job, went to real estate school for 2 weeks straight. Did the crash course, and then put your life on hold to pursue that. So,
Yeah, it really came down to, it was more intuitive for the family. The hotel industry is very, very tough. All the nights,
Sure.
all the weekends, all the holidays are all blacked out. You're always going to work. And I really enjoyed the service side of things and making people's lives a little bit easier. And this still had that touch of, hey, you can provide that service. You can, make it easier for other people around the world, and to make it, a good experience. It's a win-win-win for everybody. Win for us as a company, win for the owners, and a win for the tenants. And I'll throw in another win for the neighborhood as well. So it really is a win-win, win-win. And it was just a positive, happy environment that I needed to be a part of.
no, so that was cool. One other thing that you glossed over in your history is you managed some VRBOs and stuff like Airbnbs and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's what attracted me to your resume was, well, he kind of actually has done property management, managing vacation rentals. So maybe he could do the long-term rental stuff.
Yeah, no, I went to school out in Hawaii, and Airbnbs and VRBOs is really the name of the game out there. Hotels and short-term vacation rentals. And so when I had an opportunity to manage a couple of those for a widowed lady who worked for Disney for 30 years. So she had quite a few of them near the university, and I managed those and had that experience. I thought, man, this is really nice, very tough, the short-term environment and the vacation rental side of things. And so when I heard that we do property management and we don't do the short-term and furnish and the vacation rental side of things, I thought this would be something, interesting, and I was intrigued, and here we are 4 years later.
Awesome. No, we're lucky to have him. So we're gonna grill Matt a little bit today, right, Ben?
Oh yeah.
So we came up with some questions. We've referenced Matt a few times on the podcast, like, oh yeah, we got to have Matt on. He's got the best stories and that sort of stuff. But the reason he has the best stories is because he's part of that initial contact with our customers the onboarding, and then he follows it through until it's leased. And even now, 3, 4, 5 years later, they're still reaching out to you, you know? So, yeah. So what do you got, Ben?
Yeah. So like Eric said, if you were calling OnCue Property Management today and you're an owner interested in signing up, you're going to get Matt on the phone. So what we wanted to do is start from the beginning. If I'm an owner, I'm calling, what kind of questions should I be asking a property management company? What should I be looking for when signing up?
Yeah. So you're right. It kind of starts here with myself and the onboarding team. And I've taken, full advantage of the current situation with the market and the way of the world, and just, being extra in the service side of things, using some of my background and history. When they call, I lead with the service foot first, wanting to really go above and beyond. I'll never actually forget one of my first meetings and appointments with Eric when I was still being trained. Sweet little old lady from Poland. And we get out there and I don't know what I'm doing. I've been licensed for, 24 hours now, just did the 9-day crash course, built the 90 hours, got licensed. And here I am, first real appointment. And I'm not going to speak on expertise at this point. I have 24 hours under my belt. So I thought I'll lead with the service first. And she needed a threshold glued, and she had the piece of wood and the glue with her. And she said, "Hey, how much would this cost for us to fix this right now?" And I'm not a handyman either. I don't carry around a tool. I don't carry around a tool belt when I'm going to these appointments. But I just thought, I can easily do this. Like, slap some glue on there, and she's, elderly and won't be able to do it. So why don't I just take care of it right now? I just said, "Hey, I'll do it right this very second." She hadn't even signed on. We just walked into this house. So she's not a client. She's not a customer. I haven't pitched anything. She knows nothing about me or her or the house or the industry or the rental price, anything, but just led with that service first. And that's what really is going to set everybody apart. So some of the questions I would ask to get to your point here, when you're shopping around and asking about property management, is, what level of service are you going to provide? Everybody's going to say full service, right? It's super easy to say, "Oh yeah, we're a full service management team." But what does that really mean? Will you go above and beyond? Will you go out there before they've even signed up? Will you shake their hand, look them in the eye? Will you cut the extra key? Will you glue the threshold down? What will you do to earn that business?
The best part about that appointment is this lady and myself were in the kitchen signing all the paperwork, and Matt's on his hands and knees. And he's brand new. He doesn't know what he's doing. So just have him.
He's like, "Is this my job?"
Yeah. I'm wearing a tuxedo.
This is nice. Yeah. So what's awesome seeing Matt kind of even answer this is I did Matt's job for 5 years here at OnCue, signed the owners, the onboarding process, and saw it evolve. And even since Matt started, it's heavily evolved. But what we've tried to do is just actually offer even more service. So,
if I say, "What's your service level?" You say full service.
Yeah.
What is that? What should I expect that to cover as an owner?
Yeah, really everything from A to Z. If you're going to say full service, it's got to be full service, right? And when you're shopping around and you're calling other companies, you're going to be overwhelmed with just packages. They're going to say, "Well, we have a gold, silver, and a bronze," or, a 1, 2, 3 tier, or, "Well, if you want that, it's a little extra," or, "If you want the tax info in there, that's a little extra."
Sure. You're
going to want to really get into the nitty gritty. Super easy just to hear, "Oh, hands-free, stress-free, don't worry about it." But that full service should cover every single component. You should not be involved. You shouldn't have to talk to the tenants. Your phone shouldn't be ringing off the hook. You shouldn't be getting those late maintenance phone calls on Christmas morning that there's a plumbing issue, right? So you want to be stress-free, and a lot of our owners don't live in America, right? We're not going to get on the phone with them and cover these emergencies right then and there. So you got to be hands-on and full of service, and really think of it as it's your own property. What would I do in this current situation?
Yeah. So if I'm the owner and you're saying, you're not going to give phone calls, I'm going to handle the taxes, everything's done. And I say, "All right, man, sign me up.
Yeah.
I'm ready right now on the phone. What do we do next?"
That's a dream.
Happens?
It's a dream come true right there. That's exactly what I like to hear. That's a great point right there. So once you're ready to go, the next steps are going to be super easy. And again, I think this leans on the service side of things and making it convenient for the owners, right? This is a big deal. And Eric and I talk about it all the time. And it's a crazy concept. Like, hey, you've purchased this home for $500,000. You've raised a family here. You have kids here. Your dog was here. You had Christmas, birthdays for 20 plus years. You're emotionally attached to this. And then you just hand over the keys, the banking information, and the social security for the taxes.
You went to an appointment this morning. They haven't signed up, and you have the keys and the verbal commitment ready after one day, right?
Yeah, because the level of service, and it really is. It really is.
It's because I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's just, she was blown away that I was willing to even go out there. Hey, you want to come out here and meet me before I even signed up? I haven't done anything for you. and I don't owe you anything.
Yeah.
No, just going out there with that, hey, I don't expect anything in return. Let me come out here and meet with you. And 10 minutes later, she said, hey, I'll give you the keys right now. I'm leaving. She's moving, to across the country tomorrow and super early. Wow. She's like, hey, let me give you the keys right now. Send me the DocuSign today.
Yeah.
And so it's just super convenient, stress-free. You're going to want to hear those words over and over. Full service, convenient, stress-free. How easy can it possibly be?
So when you say DocuSign, what does that entail for an owner? Like what documents,
Matt, that's an inter-office.
Oh, gotcha.
Send her the DocuSign.
Yeah. So what am I expected to provide you other than the keys to the building?
Well, we're gonna really want to formulate your package of what you're going to provide with the property. So there's going to be some basic questions that are going to cover a large majority of everything. We're going to really dive into the pets, your appliances, the additional services, the HOA features, the community features, gated community, get the details from you. That way we don't have to pester you and call you. And so once I gather that information and I understand kind of the package that you're looking to provide, that's when we're going to be able to run you good comps, get you the right pricing. And then once those keys are handed on over, the onboarding side of things, or the team that works with myself, we're going to take over the rest, get the marketing scheduled, get the coordination going, get you some estimates. If you need help fixing anything, we'll be able to take care of everything after you've completed that agreement or that DocuSign and provided the basic information.
Right.
We'll take care of the rest.
It's funny. We were talking about this yesterday when we were talking about the episode, like going over this, but a lot of these owners, like you said, they've been living in this home for 20 years. And Eric made a great point. He's like, if I rented out my house today, I don't have keys.
Yeah.
Everything's electronic.
I haven't had a front door key for 8 years.
Yeah. So it's
like, oh, if we rented it, it's like, crap, I got to get a locksmith to
rekey
my house. Like I do not have a key to my house. I use the garage and I use the keypad,
Yep.
And there's that type of stuff that Matt would show up at the house, say, hey, here are the things you need: garage door openers, mail keys, house keys, the list that you just went over. Right. And a lot of people don't expect that. They don't even know that.
Or you don't think of it. You've just been living with it for so long that it's like, oh yeah. If I was moving into a house and they said there's no keys, but you can just go in the garage, you'd be like, hang on, no, that's not okay.
No, the most classic thing is when they go to rent the house and one of the spouses usually it's a couple you're meeting with or something, and they're like, oh yeah, before we rent it, we're going to replace all the baseboards. We're going to get this painted. And they're like, are you serious? We're going to fix everything that I've wanted fixed for a dozen years
to then rent it.
Then rent it. Oh man, we should have rented it forever ago.
Yeah.
We talked about this in a previous episode, but I think it goes to your point where Eric said, if you're asking if you should do something, you should probably do it. So it's like, hey, Matt, do I need blinds on my windows? It's like, the fact that you're asking, it should clue you into, you need blinds.
Ask yourself why you're asking me that question.
No, the best is when you're walking the property and they go, so this door handle over here, you just got to shake it a little bit and give it a tug. It'll open right up. Like, okay, because you had to explain that to me. If you got to write down instructions, let's just get it fixed. Right?
Yeah. Matt's not going to be there when the tenants show up to be like, this door just needs a jingle.
You're going to walk the tenant through all this, right? Like, no, we need to just get this fixed. This is broken. This isn't a jimmy rig.
Yeah.
It's like, how about this backyard of just dirt? Now?
Yeah. No, it's common. I mean, it's really common, especially with new builds. A big one that people don't think about is that unfinished backyard or ceiling fans. Massive, right? The new builds aren't coming with ceiling fans. They're not coming with the finished backyard. They're brand new and they're awesome. And that's going to have a positive impact for you. But there are always going to be a few things, whether the house is super old or brand spanking new, something has to be done to get it, rent ready, get it prepared for the next person.
Awesome. So I signed the DocuSign. We're good. What?
And you guys, the DocuSign is the owner's agreement.
The owner's agreement. I'm talking like Matt now.
Yeah. So you signed the management agreement.
Yeah.
And we're kind of talking in hypothetical, right? This isn't just if you hire on Q. If you're shopping for a management company outside Arizona, you can't hire us yet. So these are the types of things, right? So after you sign this management agreement,
if somebody's not doing those things for you, you should be, like if they're saying you don't need a key or blinds, maybe that's a red flag right away.
Right.
Like, who are they going to be putting in this home that's okay with no key and blinds? So once everything's signed, keys are handed over, what do I owe you to get this process started? Are there costs involved, like upfront? Obviously I know on Q, but how does that work?
Yeah, no, there's not really necessarily an upfront cost. It's really what we're going to do is we're going to get the team in there and get that house what we would consider rental ready, right? The best thing that I would say that you can do is to answer your question of upfront costs is to put yourself in the shoes of the tenant and the mindset of the tenant, right? There is a difference between home ownership and renting. And homeowners are so tough on themselves, right? Sometimes it's you're pulling teeth. You're like, hey man, you gotta fix this massive ripped up patch of carpet that your dog did. They're like, no, I don't think I do. And then other times they're the other extreme. They're like, hey, we want to do all new granite, all new flooring, gold faucets. And you're like, whoa, you don't need to do any of that. This house is beautiful. And so we want to get in there. We want to get the team in there and get it inspected and make sure that, hey, this is going to be, set up for success and really treat it like a true investment property. So no upfront cost as far as, you don't owe me anything. I don't need a credit card. I don't need a check. You just sign that owner's agreement, give us the keys. And then from there, we can, tackle the next couple of steps there.
Yeah. And do you find, I see a lot other companies maybe do have startup fees. Do you get questions a lot? Are people surprised by that when you say?
Yeah. No, it really is. It's the question of, hey, this is too good to be true, right? This can't be real. Flat rate fees. Cause I don't owe you anything right now. Like, here's my credit card. Who do I make this check out to? It's no, you don't owe me anything. I'm out here just providing that level of service and want to get this, ball rolling for you and keep it successful and keep your hands out of it.
One thing that just came to my mind that may answer this question in a roundabout way is what I tell the owners too, when they sign up, they say, hey, what are the upfront costs? What can I expect over the next 1 to 2 months? Right. So you do have to break down, hey, when it gets rented, the fees for leasing the house and the management fee or whatever. But I tell them the most expensive thing, the highest fee is vacancy. So the longer that you drag your feet and the longer you're shopping management companies, the longer you're taking to paint the house yourself to save $1,000 just for it to sit vacant another month. Yeah. Like that vacancy costs you far more than all of our fees annually. Like if this house sits vacant for 1 more month, it costs more than you'll pay us over the course of a year. Right. And so they're like, oh, wait, so I don't save money if my wife and I just paint it every weekend for the next 6 weeks? Yeah. Like, no, because you lost out on a month and a half of rent.
Yeah. So, plus you got the utilities still you're paying. Yeah. You're not going to be painting with no air conditioning.
No, and it's like, while it's vacant, you got the pool, you got the landscaping, you got the pest control, you got the utilities. Right. And then you have a mortgage payment. Most of our owners, have debt to service. Yeah. It's just like, no, the biggest thing is when you're confident in the management company you want to go with, go full steam ahead. Yeah. If they're a trustworthy, good company, take their recommendations on cleaning, on painting, on rent ready stuff, because the highest cost is vacancy. Yeah. So anyway, it kind of relates to your question, but yeah, there's fees that Matt's going to go over with somebody who calls in, but really the biggest cost is how long that thing stays vacant.
Right. To Eric's point, when I'm walking the properties with the owners, I let them know, hey, this is an investment now, right? I know you're emotionally attached to it and you've had great times here. You gotta flip that off and put it into investment mode. Just like any true investment, it takes a little bit of money to make a little bit of money. So there are some things that will need to be fixed back up. And then, that golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. You want to set the standard for your property, give the tenant the property, how you want to receive it back in a year from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now. If you don't want to patch the holes, and you just give it to them with all these holes from all the family photos that were hung up, expect a few more. But if you're going to patch it up and set yourself up for success, you're going to be okay.
That was one of, I think, not knowing a lot about property management when I joined On Q, that I was really impressed by with Matt and just the company as a whole, that value of like, you're trying to maximize their investment. It's not like we're going to make more on a monthly fee if it rents for more or less. It's like we're trying to help the owner. You're walking them through this rent ready, saying replace these things, do these things, because that's going to make them more money. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay, we're not just throwing this stuff out there to mark it up and make money on. It's not about that.
Right.
No, and it is truly, you have to treat it like an investment. And it's like some of our owners, they lose money that year, but with appreciation and their tax benefits and everything else, it's a tax or it's an investment where they're going to have ups and downs. And if you follow our advice long-term, it's going to pay dividends, right? We're going to get a better tenant faster, and it's going to get the rental income sooner than later.
Right. All right. So Matt, I know you see it all when you go out there. So like,
I know we haven't got into any juicy stuff.
Yeah. Well, what are the mistakes? You've kind of touched on this as we've gone through, but like, what are the assumptions that you think people should be avoiding and mistakes they're making that's hindering this process for them?
If you think your house is rental ready, it's probably not. Right.
Okay.
There are going to be some things that need to be fixed. If you have to give me any type of explanation or backstory of why the wall was painted, and I've seen it all, like you said,
Yeah.
If the whole house is jungle themed and you have gorillas painted in the kitchen and giraffes in the bathroom, and the jungle theme was cool. That was nice for when you lived here. But I think the biggest assumption is the tenants are not going to love what you loved. Right? They don't love all of the things that you had done previously, and they don't love the green carpet. They don't love I've seen chicken coops in the backyard. They don't want to keep your chickens back there. They're probably not going to have chickens, right? Don't assume that they're going to invest their own money into your home as well, right? Oh, well, if the tenants want to paint it, they can do that. Yeah. Well, they don't want to paint it, and they're going to want it painted before they move in, right? They don't want to deep clean the house. So again, just kind of what we've spoken about. Yeah. You got to put yourself in the shoes of the tenant and walk the property in the very end and say, hey, would I pay X amount for this house? And if you can seriously say yes and look around and say, yes, it's worth X amount, then you're getting close. Then let me come out there and tell you a few more things, right? Because I'm sure there's going to be a difference there. But just do everything you can and help yourself out.
Yeah. A lot of people just need an expert like yourself to walk through with a different set of eyes that has never been there. Like, hey, obviously the baseboards need cleaned, and they're like, obviously, really? And you're like, yeah, right. Like, look how dirty they are in a nice way. And I feel like, Matt's great at it, but it took me years to kind of fine tune how you communicate with them. Like, hey, look, I don't want to offend you guys. You've never rented a house before. And usually they're like, no, I'm all ears, man.
Right.
We don't know what we need to do. And some of them, unfortunately for us, we're trying to sign up as many as we can and offer this great service to as many as we can. Right. But some of them, it's just not a good fit.
Sure.
And it's not because of us. It's like, hey, maybe you're not ready to be a landlord. And I say that almost every episode. It's like, look, some of the listeners and some of us are like, hey, I would love to have a rental. I'd love to be a landlord, but you have to be able to stomach investing in the property. You have to be able to, hey, one Sunday morning, you're going to have to replace your roof. Yeah. Like I was in church a couple of weeks ago, and, crazy rainstorms, right? And the roof needed replaced, and it's like, that was not expected this year or next year or the year after that.
Right.
But it's kind of just like, no, this is an investment. This is a 20, 30 year plan, over time, it's going to work out. So I think some of the assumptions, Matt mentioned one, but about being rent ready. But a lot of people think too, like, I'm going to hire a management company and they are going to do everything. And we all are full service, but you still have to be available and willing, to communicate and stuff like that. We recently, even we've had owners that need a big repair approved or an application, and they're MIA. It's just like, and then they come to me as the broker because they're like, hey, it's been 3 days. They haven't responded, Eric, you got to make the decision. I'm like, all right. So I dive in there and I'm sitting there going, why would somebody trust us to manage their $1 million portfolio and just disappear? It's just an interesting mindset to have.
Yeah. I see through our email server, sometimes we'll send stuff, 6 months after Matt signed them, and I can see they just marked us as spam. And it's like, wait, you're paying, we're trying to send you stuff you need, and you're marking our emails as spam.
I don't need that anymore. You guys send me my rent every month. I'm good.
And then they'll text me Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Matt. Hope everything's going okay.
Oh man. So Matt, I got to ask you, you mentioned this yesterday, but can you kind of talk about the two buckets where you talk about as far as a rental, how to think about it?
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's the best explanation and mindset of a future or current landlord is there's basically two buckets that I like to break everything up into, right? Because every home has a ton of upgrades, right? When you live there and you did new this and LED light bulbs and this and this and this, not everything adds value. So the two buckets I like to break down is there's an add value bucket and there's a quickness of placing a tenant bucket, right? Just because you did the LED light bulbs and it cost you $75 does not mean you're going to tack $75 onto the rental price. So the two buckets, the add value as far as the rental side of things and the quickness of placing a tenant, some of them will kind of hyper blend into both, but the appliances is a big part, right? You're going to see a little bit of add value, but also going to place a tenant much faster if you are able to provide the washer, the dryer, the fridge. Those are the three heaviest, most awkward things that nobody wants to lug around.
Right.
So if you can have that, or if you can add pets are going to dabble into both, right? But if you did the cool glass bowl in the sink in the bathroom, the tenant probably does not want to pay you more for that. You did backsplash in the kitchen. Cool. Probably don't want to pay you more for that, right?
Yeah.
You have copper knobs instead of stainless steel knobs. That looks great. It looks very, very nice. They probably don't want to pay you more for that. So keep that in mind as you're doing upgrades. Not everything needs to be upgraded, and not all of it will add value, but it may add quickness of placing a tenant for you.
No, and there's some value in just knowing that too. If you're listening and you're like, I'm going to eventually rent my house out. That's my dream. Because I think a lot of people listening they may own a home now. And they're like, I'm going to upgrade my house, but keep this as a rental. Keep that in mind when you're doing renovations and upgrades. Is a lot of it's not going to get more rent. It's going to be cool.
Yeah.
And it might rent it faster, but it's not going to rent it for more money.
Right.
And that's what Matt mentioned appliances is the example I use is if you have two houses in that neighborhood for rent, one has appliances, one doesn't, they're at the same price. They're going to take the one with appliances. They're not going to pay more for it, but they're going to pick that one to apply on. Right. One of my favorites is, and this isn't a diss on solar, but dude, it's hilarious when people are like, hey, my house has solar. I need like $500 more a month. And you're like, it doesn't go dollar for dollar. Right. Just because they're going to save $200 to $500 a month on their electricity bill does not mean they're going to pay $200 to $500 more in rent.
Right.
I mean,
that's 100%. Yeah. Cause now it's not a perk anymore. They're just covering your costs. It has solar, but I'm going to charge them every penny of it. It's like, well, nobody's going to pick it.
My favorite with solar is they're like, hey, I need $300 more a month. We explain it, whatever. They try $300 more a month, but on Zillow or Redfin or, rent pads, whatever they're looking on their website or our website, and it'll be priced $300 more, and they're like, I'm not even interested. I don't even know if it has solar or not. It's overpriced.
Nobody shops for a home. They're going to look at like the schools for my kid. And they're not going to be like, I want to move to Arizona and I want to live in a house that has solar. Those are my qualifications.
And I want to pay for it.
And it's like, no, solar is a perk. I mean, I've got solar and it's awesome, but you don't get dollar for dollar.
Right.
That's the whole point, right?
Right.
And it's like, hey, I have a pool and it cost me $400 a month. I got a loan on it, so I need that much more. It's like, hey, the financing on your pool has nothing to do with the rentability of your house.
Right.
Yeah.
And same thing with a mortgage payment. I mean, we get it a lot right now where we're in a little bit of a downturn and people's mortgage payments are higher than their house is going to rent for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, they'll say, hey, my mortgage is $2,400. I need at least 24 plus your fee. I need $2,500 almost.
Comps are 18.
And comps are 1,800.
Yeah.
And it's like, I was in a conference in Texas and they said, hey, stuff right now is renting for $300 to $500 less cash flow than it was 6 months ago. And so if you bought 6 months ago, you put minimum down. Yes, you're going to rent it out and lose money right now. The great thing with real estate is over the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, appreciation will happen. Hopefully you have a fixed rate mortgage and it will turn positive at some point. But that's one more thing that you just have to realize, that financially you've got to think about it in the financial sense and the ease to get a tenant sense. I love those, Matt calls them buckets, but
And to your point, Eric, I'll even have that talk with when the owners are bringing up all the numbers, right? They go, well, I don't know. I need X amount or whatever the case may be. And you just say, hey, it's not a get rich overnight, scheme. You may not cash flow positive. And I've signed up individuals that say, hey, I'll still be negative $200, but I'll still do it because I know next year I'll increase the rent. The next year I'll increase the rent. The next year I'll increase rent. It's usually not a get rich overnight. Those are very rare now when it's like, hey, I don't have a mortgage. I don't know the last time I ever heard that. I don't have a mortgage on this house. And so it's going to be the longevity game. And I like to explain that. And it goes back to, again, treating it as a true investment, right?
Yeah.
You got to buy it now and then give it 5 years, see what's going on. Give it another 10 years, see what's going on. Give it 15 more years, see what's going on. And so there is a game to be played.
Yeah. I mean, I liken it unto everyone's, you look at your 401k contribution or you're buying stocks and stuff. And it's like, think of if you just said, no, I'm out every time the stock market went down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, the stock market went down. Let me sell everything. It's like, just because you're going to lose $100, $200 a month for this next year does not mean that the tenant they're still paying off your mortgage. They're still contributing to paying this house off and doing that. So, and that's a whole other episode. The financial side of rentals and kind of the game within the game is amazing. And I'm sold on it. We manage over $1 billion of real estate. And, and I see moms and what do you say? Moms and pops shop. I don't know.
Moms and pops.
Mamas and papas. I don't know. But you see these little, they start with 1, then they get 2, then they get 3. And you've got some people that bought a house every 3 to 5 years, and now they're 60 and they've got 10 homes.
Sure.
And we manage for them. And dude, it's awesome success stories if you just, follow the advice of the onboarding team and then the property manager and the whole system.
All right. Well, guys, I think we covered it.
All right.
Matt, I'm sold. If
All
I'm
right.
a hypothetical owner, sign me up.
I got you.
I'm ready.
No problem.
Take the keys. So that's it from us. Be sure to follow the podcast wherever you are listening and leave us a 5-star review if you can. It really helps us out. And we will see you guys next time.